Hi, I'm Arthur Moats, and I'm here to talk to you about my book, The Moats Theory of Life, and the amazing holiday deal we have going on right now. If you purchase a hardback book, you will receive a paperback copy half off as part of our holiday bundle. This book makes for a great gift for yourself or others and will leave you feeling inspired and impactful. So go to moatstheory.com right now and get your copy so you can start living a more fulfilled life.
What's up? It's the Arthur Moats Experience with Deke. I'm Arthur Moats, and that's my main man, Deke.
What's up, bro?
Come on, baby. You know what it is, man. New location, but same script. Another episode is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbooking app. Not only is it safe, but it is secure and reliable. And for all the first-time users out there, if you use the promo code MOATS, you will receive up to $1,000 in deposit bonus money. So, Deke, tell them all to stop wasting time, download the app, and use the promo code so they can get an opportunity to make a little money. But baby, I'm excited, man. You know, we kind of got this little free week here, you know, between NFC, AFC championship games and Super Bowls. He's like, you know what? Man, we're gonna try a little different action right here, which I'm cool with 1,000% because, man, you gotta spice it up. That's what they say when it comes to all this like marketing stuff, Deke. I know you talk to me all the time about this. Man, you gotta stay ahead of it, man. We gotta spice it up. What about this? What about that? So we're just trying to keep up with the times, baby. That's it.
Is that what it is? Keeping people on their toes?
You know what I'm saying? Hey, listen, man, if we come up here every week, every episode and give them the exact same thing, they ain't gonna get tired of that, baby. We gotta show them growth, a little variety.
When's the last time we did this? I think it was whenever the Patriots signed Cam Newton.
Yeah, where were we? Were we on vacation?
No, I think it had something to do with COVID, like close contact or something like that, and we were just like looking out for each other or something like that. But yeah, I think that was it.
It's crazy, man. Crazy.
Yeah, so it's been since the summer.
It's been a minute, man.
Yeah.
But I like it though, man. Technology's definitely been upgraded since then, man. So, you know, we just living and vibing out the way we are supposed to.
100%.
But man, I'm excited for the show today, man, because last night, shout out to everybody that was tuned in last night, man. We had Pins action, baby. Let's go, Pins. Now, granted, it didn't end the way we have liked it to have ended. But either way, man, I thought it was a good game. Pens obviously lost last night to the Boston Bruins, 3-2 in overtime. They fall to 4-2-1 on the season. Obviously, the Boston Bruins have improved to 4-1-1. But then we got the rematch, man. They'll be right back at it tomorrow night at 7 p.m. in Boston. But as a whole, man, I know what we should do here too.
What?
I'm not even going to ask you if you watched it. I remember we talked about this last time. You're going to talk first and get a little surprise action at the end of this thing, right?
Wait. This is not how we did it the first time. All right, so you want me to give my take? All right, dude. So
you give me a take, I give my take, and then we'll see who watched what.
All right, ready? So it wasn't looking pretty. It wasn't looking pretty for sure,
Very
just
true.
Like all the other Penguins games.
Very
we were
true.
down. I don't remember the score exactly.
It was what, two zip?
I think
it was. I want to say it was in the second.
It was 2-0, and I think they actually scored on one of our power plays, right?
Yes,
at the beginning.
they did.
It was like, what the hell's going on? And then I thought initially the Pens were looking pretty good to start off. Rust had a few chances. I'm like, wow, could they get off to a hot start?
Did.
But then all of a sudden it reverted back to then they're up 2-0. And I thought the same thing though. Like Jarry played pretty decent. Like if you look at the final stats, his save percentages there and everything, it's just. Dude, the one came off. I think it was the first one. It came off the pass that was trying to go across the blue lines, and then just got deflected. Then the guy was wide open and just ripped a really sick shot. But yeah, I thought he played pretty well. But then we got our legs together over the second and third period. We scored a couple goals, which were I thought Russ, man, like he had 4 times where he could have had a goal. I thought.
I agree, man. I thought he played well. The thing, continue.
No. I mean, Kapanen had the second one to finally give us the tie.
And that was his first. That was his first goal with the Pens as well, man. So shout out to him for that, man. That was a big time thing.
Yeah. So,
but man,
no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, man, I agree. I do think that they did what they typically have done this season in terms of start slow, get themselves in a hole. But then from there, they go on this just crazy rally. I thought in the second and third period, they outplayed the Bruins thoroughly. I mean, you could just see it. They were the more physical team, and I thought their speed was on display in a big way last night. We talk about this team being a fast team, and they're starting to show it more consistently, and that's the thing that I like. I mean, you could just see some of the things that they're able to create, some of the breaks that they're able to create solely based on the speed. Now, part of that, I do feel that with that, they should be capitalizing on these opportunities a little bit more. And obviously in the overtime period, I thought it stood out the most, especially with Malkin. He was a little bit too passive, especially, I mean, I guess like the ending sequence of it was the highlight, right? In terms of you saw the Pens get a 2-on-0 opportunity in overtime and great pass to Malkin. Malkin makes an extra pass. Didn't need it. Should have just shot it. Then you see the flip side where the Bruins get the exact same scenario. Literally a possession or two later, they capitalize on it and score. As a whole, I feel like we're still getting into where we need to be. I thought last night was very impressive because, like I said, Boston's a good team. They're not, some.
That's what everyone was saying coming into this. Yeah,
they're a good team, man. Test. Yes, so to see them compete with them like that and them be able to compete at a high level, even with them not playing their best hockey. To me, I think that's very encouraging because it's only going to continue to get better. The more these guys are out there, they're going to get back into playing shape. They're going to get a better rapport with each other. But I just think that, man, it was a really good test last night for them.
Yeah, at least they got the point because...
Yeah, very true, very true.
I mean, you were thinking, it looks like they could lose this, but then they tie it up just like normal. But then all of a sudden you're like, wow, are they really going to steal this game? But then, like you said, see, I'm just going to be straight up. I watched the highlights. So here's one of the things, actually, one of my subscribers commented on the video that I did was that they didn't even show that, like you said, the 2-on-0. I think he said it was a 3-on-0 where we missed it.
So it was a 3-on-0 at first, and then I forgot who it was. He fell at right around like center ice. He fell, so it ended up becoming a 2-on-1 or 2-on-0 at the end of it. Yeah.
But then the other one that they showed was Malkin hitting the crossbar, though, which is like, that was it to end it. Like, all right, that could have ended it, but then it came back with the 2-on-0 that the Bruins had, and that was kind of honestly, that was almost very similar to the first goal the Bruins had. It was kind of fluky just because the turnover happened at the other side of the ice, but then no one was back on defense. It was like, what the hell can you do? And it was just too easy.
Yeah.
I thought it was at least going to go to another shootout there just because there was how many seconds left on the clock, but it is what it is. These Pens games are crazy, though. Like, I'm actually thoroughly enjoying following them. I know I haven't been watching the full games consistently, but man, like these have been fun to watch.
No question, man. And that's my thing. I'm like, if it's exciting like this and you can see the back and forth, as much as obviously like it sucks for them to lose, I feel like you can understand. I guess you're more understanding of them dropping the game when they're still competing at a high level and they're taking teams to overtimes and the shootouts for them to drop it. If they were to just get smashed 2-zip, 4-zip, I think it'd be a totally different feeling from not just me and you, but from the fans as a whole that tune in. But they're still putting together a good product. You can just see it's the beginning stage. They're still laying the foundation for this season, man. And without having the full offseason like you would want it, that is a part of it. It does take a little bit of time. And I mean, even when we talked football, can bring it in parallels. We heard Rocky Bleier talk about that as well, talking about how with the Steelers, because of the veteran group, they were able to start out a little bit faster than everyone else, but eventually they kind of got caught once, people start to figure them out. I think with the Pens, it's the reverse of that. I think with the Pens, they do have veteran players, but this group hasn't been together a long time. They're still figuring each other out, still just trying to make the puzzle fit. But once it does click, man, I think that they can really do something special because you see the talent and they're doing this all while Malkin isn't even playing his best hockey. I mean, Malkin is off to a slow start in terms of how many goals he scored. If you look at what he's on pace for this year compared to other years, it's drastically lower. And it's weird because sometimes he doesn't look as enthused. Other times he's making the right play. It's just a weird dynamic with him right now. And I don't think it's injury related. So it's going to be cool to just see how long it takes for him to kind of get out of that rut. It's almost like a mid-season rut. But when you think about a guy like Malkin,
but you're expecting a hot streak at some point, like a hot month where he just completely goes off. And if we can be 4-2-1 at this point, where, like you said, maybe he's not playing his best right now, then who knows what could happen when he is hitting a stride. And just even the full team in general, dude. Like, I don't know. That's pretty cool that Boston's a good team. I mean, we've played some good teams. I know people are pretty down after the first couple games of the season, but it seems like the Pens have turned it around at least, where you're at least expecting playoffs, and then if you get in the playoffs, you have a chance, right? That's all.
Oh yeah. And the thing was, you got to remember too, our first game was against the Keystone State rivalry, man, in terms of opening up against the Flyers. That was going to be heated. The back and forth that's between the two, but it is what it is. I thought the slow start in those two games gave them kind of the wake up call that they've needed to progress these past, 5 games now where they've been able to go 4-1 over that stretch. I think that this is a team that's going to continue to get better. They're going to continue to improve. And like we said with Malkin, once he hits his stride and he gets that hot streak, now you're talking about scary territory, because they're doing this with him really playing not bad hockey, just good hockey. And we know he's an elite player. So I think that's the difference right now too.
What do you think of Jarry? Are you a believer? Have you turned around?
I will say this. I've been really impressed with Jarry his past, 3 games now. I think that he's done really well. He's definitely starting to get a lot hotter. But also, we talked about this earlier with both him and DeSmith. The defense in front of him, the defense in front of him is playing a lot better now as well. I think all of those things are going to be a combination. And we're not saying that Jarry is a bad goalie. We were just simply saying that, man, we don't think that Mike Sullivan believes in him to that extent, whereas the organization does. That's why they gave him the contract they gave him. But
I think he needs to start believing. I think he needs to start.
But the
second goal was the 5-on-3 too, where it was like he passed it right across the net, and then the final goal was 2-on-0. So there was not one bad goal I thought that he gave up.
But see, for me, I look at it like this. I think the reason he's playing better right now compared to at the beginning of the season is because he felt that fire lit under him. He felt that, hey, this isn't my job. It's not a guarantee. I'm not the guy. I have to come out here and compete every night. And when you saw them pull him multiple times and then start DeSmith in big games, I think that gave Jarry that wake up that, hey, this isn't just my spot because I got this contract. I got to work. And if you perform like that every time, great. You will be the starter. It won't be a debate. But just know, as soon as you start feeling complacent, as soon as you start feeling like you got this is your spot, Casey DeSmith is going to be ready to go. And that's the same thing we talk about with football. We always talk about competition and how it's either going to breed, it's either going to make the best in you come out, or you're going to whimper and go to the sideline and be a bad player. So that's why for me, I love competition. And that's why I'm always a believer that competition should be the case every position, not just, the key spots that don't include, big time players. I think competition is key, man. If you're a big time player, you'll beat out any competition. It shouldn't matter. But complacency will kill you. And I think that's what was going on a little bit earlier with Jarry. Now, hopefully he'll be able to continue the streak, though.
Yeah, I'm sure DeSmith will probably get a start in one of these next couple games here just to give Jarry a break. But I think he could definitely be the guy. I know based off what we were talking about, maybe it could have been up in the air for at least this season based off Jarry's play. But, man, I think he's really stepped up over these past, what have we said, 3 or 4 starts?
3, yeah.
Yeah, so, I definitely have faith in him. And I think the talent overall just kind of –
you can see the talent.
Yeah, the talent
you
just
could definitely
goes
see
to show
it,
that this is definitely going to be a contending team for sure.
Yes, indeed, man. I like it. Now, transition into another contending team. Because, we love our Pens hockey. We love that. And like I said, man, this is new for the podcast. We're really putting forth a concerted effort.
I'm getting there, dude.
An assertive effort to, give you a little 5 to 10, little pins. That's what we're working on.
I'm enjoying it, man. It's fun.
Expansion. It's fun to me too. I like it because, for me and you, right? Football, we know football, right? We could talk football for days. This is what we do. But it's like, man, we don't always dabble into this area. So let's continue to, expand ourselves. If we're not growing, we're doing the opposite of growing, which is dying. And I don't have any plans on dying today. So let's keep this growth going, baby. But speaking of the 100%. Growth that we're talking about, we finally, officially have a Steelers offensive coordinator, and it's Matt Canada. Now, I don't know why they decided to wait a week from when they initially put out the report, when we initially came in here and reported on it. Obviously, did a couple of interviews in between there, but now it is official. Matt Canada is the Steelers offensive coordinator. And I guess I'll start with my initial thoughts. We talked about this last week in terms of why we liked it. I thought that he's obviously very young and he could bring in some fresh ideas. Doesn't have a lot of NFL experience, but just in terms of offensive coordinator experience, obviously he was very creative at Pitt. Now, I don't think, the more I thought of it, I don't think we'll see the full extent of his creativity that we saw when he was at Pitt. I don't think we'll see that level stuff at the NFL level because it's, just a lot more talent, a lot more speed defensively. Like, you're not going to get some of these mismatches that you're able to create from a collegiate standpoint. But as a whole, I'm with it. My biggest thing that I want to see from him, though, is him take control. If you're the OC, I want you to act like you're the OC. Don't be another yes man. We've seen that, and that wasn't acceptable. I don't think that, and even though I do think the team believes in Matt Canada, I don't think that they will stand by him if this year looks terrible and next year looks, wacky as well. I don't think that they're willing to invest in him to that extent, even though I don't necessarily feel that it would be his fault if the offense were to start slow or be slow these next 2 years, because everything that's surrounding it and the potential change that could be made. But as a whole, man, I'm not opposed to the Matt Canada signing. We talked about, was it Pep Hamilton that interviewed, and obviously Hugh Jackson, and even Ike Hilliard, who was the Steelers wide receivers coach that interviewed for the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator position. If those were the pot that you had to pick from, I don't mind you going with youth and the uncertainty over the classical, in terms of your Hugh Jackson and stuff like that.
No, dude. Well, what do you think with this? Do you think that they did the interviews for PR purposes then? Because the initial reports were Canada was the guy, but then there was a lot of backlash. And then all of a sudden, we're interviewing Hugh Jackson, we're interviewing Pep Hamilton. It's not completely closed. And then now, no, it's Matt Canada.
Well, I will say this. It is funny. I didn't think of this because I don't like to think like this typically. But when you said, man, when they doing this for the PR, and then I look at the two candidates, I said, man, you check the two boxes right here. Minority interview. Rooney Rule. I'm not going there, but I could definitely see how that could look, because they definitely, for a fact, a week ago, that was a report. Canada's the guy. Then all of a sudden it's,
dude, we did a whole podcast on it.
We did, exactly.
I don't know who the reports were coming from, but I think they were pretty official,
they were coming. They were coming directly from Steelers beat writers, the people that I value, the people that we work closely with because of just the close-knit group of media surrounding the Steelers. So and all of the reports were right. We saw that. They just, for some reason, the Steelers wanted to do their whole, wait a week, get our interviews in. Yeah, that's it. But literally, the reports were true. So it does kind of like a formality in terms of the interviews. It won't get talked about on a big time level, which is good. But if this was for a head coaching position, this would definitely have raised some red flags. This would have definitely have caused a little bit of a stir up just because of the timing of everything.
What? Just
from an optics standpoint? Because the optics, it doesn't look good. It looks like they didn't interview anyone, and they had interviewed Canada and said, hey, that's our guy. And then from there, you kind of hear the rumblings, and all of a sudden it's, all right, well, we did interview two other people. Here we go, right here. We're good. All right, but this is still our guy.
Yeah, that's the thing, because whenever we talked about it last podcast, or 2 podcasts ago, I think, that was our sentiment of, all right, we're good with Canada, but we would at least like you to exhaust all your resources to see who else you could potentially hire or bring in here. Maybe there is a better guy out there. But now, looking back, now that it's just Canada's the guy, I guess it does make you just question a little bit. But I don't know, because what if it was Hugh Jackson or Pep Hamilton? We wouldn't have these questions at all. It just so happens that the report came out with Canada, and I don't know, maybe it's like a hindsight 2020 thing as well. Who knows? But yeah, it does just make you question a little bit.
Right. But and like I said, because it's the Steelers,
and like you said, it was legitimate sources.
It like that. It was though, and that's like for a fact. This deal, in theory, was done. Like that was their guy. Those reporters that I know, they wouldn't have put that out there if that wasn't the case. So yeah, but I'm not opposed to it. I mean,
we're fine with it. Like we said, I mean, I was good with any of those because there was a positive spin that you could put with any of the guys that we interviewed for sure. Now,
I was laughing to myself the more I got to thinking, though, about, some of the under center stuff. And everybody's, man, Big Ben doesn't like to be under center. He doesn't want to see his.
I wanted to ask you about this. Is that actually a real thing? Because I did see comments about that recently, and I didn't think about it throughout the season. But do you think there's anything to that where Ben just doesn't want to go under center?
It is. It's been out there. He's been saying this. I mean, even when Haley was around, he was still on that whole, I don't really like to be under center. He feels like he can see it better from the gun. He has a little bit more time Then he said he doesn't like the pistol. The pistol formation is just simply where you're not all the way back like shotgun, but you're not fully under center. You're kind of splitting the difference. And typically the running back, instead of being directly to the right or left of you, he'll be aligned directly behind you. But it's an awkward like distance with the snap. And he just said he wasn't comfortable with it. But that's been his thing, especially later in his career. I think that Canada will implement some of the play action pass, but I don't think it's going to be this Tennessee Titans style, Baker Mayfield style, where it's just heavy under center play action pass. Because I feel like this, when it comes to coaching, and for good coaches, and they say this all the time, scheme is important. Without a doubt, you got to have a scheme. You got to understand play calling. You got to know when to call stuff. But more importantly, you have to be able to make it fit the personnel that you have. So if Ben isn't a guy that needs to play 80% or shouldn't play 80% of his snaps under center, that's not going to be where he's most productive, then don't put him in that situation just for the simple sake of saying, oh, well, this is how I run my offense. Like, no. If you're a good coach, you find ways to implement your philosophies, your practices, but still find ways to maximize the productivity of the players that you have. I think that that's going to be a true test for Canada because, I mean, obviously what he wants to do versus what Ben is necessarily capable of doing from an athletic ability standpoint, they're going to have to find some type of common ground because I do think both of them are kind of extremes right now, you know, and if either one of them try to play horrible, I just don't think that it's going to equal into a successful season for the Steelers next year.
It seems like from all accounts that they have a good relationship, no?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, from a relationship standpoint, outside of Todd Haley, he never had a bad relationship with any of the guys.
Yeah.
But that's part of the problem. Because of that, it's the whole, Ben simply says this is what he wants to do, well, now no one ever stops him. No one ever says, hey, look, I know you want to throw the ball a lot, but we got to stop you from throwing the ball 40, 50 times. We need you at 25, 30 times. But because they all have this buddy relationship and it was all friendly, it was, all right, do what you want. Like, you're good. And that's a part of the issue.
I was going to say there's a legitimate argument that our offense was the best under Todd Haley for sure. And that's why we talked about, like, I would definitely be open to Haley coming back. Now, how do you think that's going to work then with Canada and Ben? I know that you said at the beginning, like, Canada kind of has to assert himself. So what is that balance? How does he assert himself if, like you said, if Ben's not completely comfortable under center anymore? Yeah. In terms of kind of getting his thumbprint on the offense.
Yeah. So I think for me initially, man, I'm gonna now obviously we're expecting this to be a regular off season. You'll have OTAs and things like that. And Ben, the one thing I will say about Ben, he's been one of those guys that he shows up to OTAs. You get some places, man, with some of the bigger time guys, they don't necessarily want to be out there for some of that stuff. Because obviously it's voluntary and things like that. But Ben, he's an OTA guy. And I do think that that's going to be critical in terms of just the cohesiveness and the implementation of Matt Canada's offense. And from Ben's perspective, I think with Ben, man, early on, you keep it vanilla when he's under center. Under center, strictly just run plays, right? You can still do your pre-snap shifts and motions and things like that we know what Canada likes to do. And you can start that out as the under center stuff. And you'll probably get away with it for about a week or two. But that's just to initially get that type of stuff on tape. Then from there, you start sprinkling in the occasional play action pass. Like I said, it doesn't have to be like the guys I named in terms of Baker and Ryan Tannehill, who predominantly, anytime they're passing the ball, it's from under center off of the play action. I don't think that it has to be like that. I think if you sprinkle it in one or two plays, a quarter of it, I think you'll be fine. And as long as you're still mixing in some of the other stuff that you're doing and you're having a sustainable run game, I think you'll be fine that way. Honestly, I don't think it has to be we got to reinvent the wheel and play hardball and make Ben do these things that he's not necessarily comfortable with, because that's not going to help you win. I just think that a sprinkle of it early on, just getting it out there. And then obviously he'll get more comfortable with it the more he does it. Then by the end of the year, you have a more dynamic offense that is able to go under center and run the ball, able to go under center and have play action pass. The play action pass from under center is way more effective than play action pass from the gun. And a lot of that is just because from a defender's perspective, I can see you when you're in the gun. I can physically just look at you from where I'm at, and it's like, oh, there is no deception right here.
Yeah, if you're turning around, you're concealing everything.
Right. I can't see if he has the ball or not, so I have to play it a lot more honestly, and it slows me down. And what I mean by slows me down is if you're under center and you get play action, hard play action pass, look at linebackers. They have to respect it. They have to come downhill because you can't tell if he gave it or not. And sometimes with the offensive line, if they're doing their job the way they're supposed to, it won't show right away if it's play action or not. If you're in the shotgun, I don't have to bite down as hard because I can just look and see it. The ball is in my face. You know what I mean? So even if you pull it and run, it was only a half a second that I was late on. But as a whole, I'm still fine because I can see it. And you're coming from 5 to 6 yards from the shotgun when you ran that fake. So I still have a lot more time. That's why as a defender, when we get gun runs, it's just weird in terms of it's easier from a mental standpoint. But obviously the physical element of it is a little bit different because the timing is different. But when it's under center, man, you don't have that luxury of being able to read a telltale sign. You got to play it as is and then just react off of it. So that's why I do think that it will be important for Matt Canada to bring that element to this offense.
Okay. Yeah, so just implement it early, OTAs.
Yeah.
The offense will be looking good this year.
So I'm hoping, man. I'm hoping. Because the thing is this. When I think of Ben right now, I personally feel that he is more Phillip Rivers. I think he'll be in the Phillip Rivers vein this year. But you have to remember, Phillip Rivers this year was still light years ahead of what Peyton Manning was in 2015 when they won the Super Bowl. We can do similar things. Now, granted, it's going to be a lot tougher because of the contract situation and the money surrounding it. But that model is still there. This defense is still intact. You still have some very intriguing pieces offensively that are young, especially that receiving group. So you can see the blueprint, the foundation is there. It's these little things. But when you're talking about going from being a good team to a great team, that's what it comes down to. It's not necessarily a big overhaul. Sometimes you have to have big changes, but a lot of the times the difference between the good teams and the great teams are just little details, little minutia. And that's ultimately how you get out of these games. And obviously the spreads in all these games, when you look at them over the course of the past 10 years, you see how close they are because it's a detail-oriented league, man. You have to be on the screws because the talent is too similar.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I've felt over these past however many podcasts we've done. I think if we can run it back for the most part, I think we're in the mix. You just fix a few things. I brought up personnel on the offensive line, potentially the running game. I think we got a chance, but then it goes back to what you've brought up too, is just the contract. How can we make all that work where we can bring, for the most part, everyone back? So, I think
that's the conversation.
I think we could definitely be contenders next year.
Yeah, that's the conversation that we all are having right now. It's just
nothing's happened thus far.
Yeah, nothing. So until something starts to happen as it pertains to personnel, like obviously right now the Steelers are taking their approach and we're going to do our coaching stuff first, which you should do. You want to go coaches first and then from there get your players. Just because you don't want to have a situation where you bring in this player, but this coach doesn't necessarily rock with this player. It wasn't that same dynamic. And now you got a whole situation here. I think that when you go coach first, now you're able to talk to these guys and say, hey, man, all right, what style of players are we looking for? Who do we want here? What do we need here? And kind of operate from there. But until we get that contract stuff situated, and we speak of Ben's because his is the biggest, but there is a number of players where they're going to be looking into their stuff, man, in terms of contracts, in terms of keeping them on the team, restructures and things like that. I mean, we just 4 guys off the top of the head. I mean, they already said that Allison coming back. We already know this. But you think about Pouncey DeCastro, Joe Hayden, Steven Nelson, those 4 guys, Vince Williams as well. You
think Cam Hayward's in the mix?
No. These are guys we're talking. No. These are guys we're talking about potential for this year. And also Stephon Tuitt is another guy that they've thrown in there as well. And obviously he had a great season for him this year. And I thought, if anything, last year he'd have been more of a candidate for this, but he's definitely been floated around in that mix as well. In terms of guys in that, where that cap number has definitely increased a lot more than earlier parts of that deal that that all those guys definitely signed and things like that. So these are some of the tough decisions that could potentially be made when you're talking about keeping Ben at the 41, which they still haven't said that they wouldn't do just yet. But that's the other alternative. If you keep them at the 41, you're going to start losing out on those caliber guys as well, just because of the money element of it. So that's why I said I'm interested to see their approach.
And that's the thing. If they believe in Justin Lane and Cam Sutton or something like that, then maybe it's like
they could do that. Yeah,
we don't really see this as much of a downgrade.
Mm-hmm.
But based off the name, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. Well, not just I mean, when I watched the tape, I'm like, Joe's still playing at a high level, man.
Mm-hmm.
He still obviously has some little things that we pointed out on tape throughout the season, but as a whole, he's playing at a high level. Him and Steven Nelson. So that's my thing. But the problem is when you start factoring the money, and that's the thing in a salary cap league, a hard salary cap league. It's not like the NBA where you have the luxury tax, right? You could go over. It's not like MLB where there isn't a salary cap. It's just different. So even though these players are still good players, the contracts that they've signed, the cap hit and everything in this perfect storm of a scenario, now you got to have these type of tough decisions, man. So like I said, I'll be interested to see when they start making these decisions. We've seen some teams already make those decisions. Obviously, Baltimore, they released Mark Ingram last week, but yeah, with the Steelers, man,
they had Dobbins though. That's the thing with us. It's like
no. But what I'm saying is this though, in terms of how early they released.
Oh yeah.
You like they're not waiting until February or March. They went ahead and did that now and got it out the way. So you kind of
we're still thinking about it,
right? So that's to me, it's just kind of like, well, nothing can really go into motion until they start to show what they're going to do. And it's not really. I don't think that it's a scenario of you're tipping your hand, because during this time of year, outside of the draft, you're not really tipping your hand when it comes to your roster decisions. You know, like to me, that's the side of it. I'm just like, I'm trying to figure out when are we going to start to see some of these moves happen so they can start going, because they have to obviously get ready for free agency. They have to get ready for the draft and things like that. Obviously, there's no combine this year, but those are some of the variables that are put on hold until you know what the money situation will be.
Yeah.
Because there's no point in me trying to get this guy if we're not going to have the money to pay this guy. You're just wasting your time. So you would need to look to, okay, instead of looking in the $10 million range, let me look in the $2 million range. So just to kind of give you an idea right there.
Yeah, for sure. Is that all we got for Canada? I guess even the offense going forward, but there was more news.
We actually had one more. Yeah, we had one. The Steelers. So we talked about James Daniels, JD, the tight ends coach. Shout out to JD, retiring from the Steelers after what I think was 16, 17 seasons or whatever. But they recently just hired tight ends coach Alfredo Roberts. So little background on Alfredo. Played in the NFL for 6 seasons, 3 with the Chiefs in 88 to 90, and then he was with the Cowboys in 91 to 93. Obviously, he was part of those 3 Super Bowl championships there. Came from the University of Miami, where he won 2 national championships there as a tight end. And then he's been coaching in the league for 17 years. Started out in 03 to 06 with the Jags, 07 to 08 with the Browns, 09 to 11 with the Bucks. He was with the Colts in 12 and 15, historic season there as well, where Dwayne Allen and Coby Fleener were the first tight end pair to both have 8 touchdowns in a season. He was their tight ends coach during that year. And then these past 3 years, he's with the Chargers in 17 to 20. He was the
running
tight ends coach the first. Excuse me. He was their tight ends coach initially, and then switched their running backs coach to this. I want to say this last year.
I think you got it.
Or was it opposite?
You got it. Tight ends coach last year, 17 to 19. He was running back.
He was the running backs coach for Austin Eckler. Yep, absolutely. So I mean, a ton of experience, both of us as a coach and as a player. High pedigree guy in terms of playing at the University of Miami. For me, I'm a big fan of coaches that come in with playing experience. I'm not gonna lie, because it's just certain things that we're able to communicate with each other.
Championship experience too.
Absolutely, man. Both as a player, as a player at the collegiate and professional level, I'm just a big believer that, man, coaches that have been out there, it's just certain ways that they're able to communicate with players who have been out there. Versus, you can still have great coaches who never played the game, right? You can have that. But sometimes, like, those guys have to work a lot harder in terms of conveying that message and just building that trust, because there's certain things that if a coach that hasn't played this position, when he's talking to me about it, it's just like, you can just hear it. It's like, man, he doesn't know what this is. He doesn't know what this feeling is. But with Alfredo, man, we're not going to have that issue because of the long playing experience, man, and at a high level. So I'm very excited about it. And obviously, you still have Eric Ebron in there, but you're going to have some turnover in that room. You're going to potentially have some young talent, new guys coming in. They're going to need leadership. They're going to need a guy that's played at all levels and at a high level as well. And I think that they're definitely going to get that with Alfredo. So I'm definitely excited about the hire, man.
Bro, just looking at the track record, I'm excited too. Some of those Chargers years at running back, combination of Eckler and Gordon, but then secretly the Browns and Bucks Kellen Winslow.
Kellen Winslow. Yes.
Kellen Winslow's best year with the Browns. He had over 1,000 yards. And then the Bucks, he had 2 good seasons as well. So, and then you look at the Colts, like you said, the historic 8+ touchdown seasons with Dwayne Allen, Colby Fleener. And even just outside of that, that was a good duo at tight end.
Think about 16 touchdowns in the tight end room alone. Like that's a lot of productivity, baby, from one room right there.
Yeah,
man.
bro. I'm excited. Like he has good stretches where the players under him really performed well. So you can't really argue with that at all. So I'm kind of excited too. And we have Ebron, so like maybe he could tap into maybe some more potential with Ebron.
Well, and when you brought up the Winslow element, I'm like, Winslow, all right, Ebron, big athletic guys. I like it. Then we obviously know with Dwayne Allen and Colby Fleener, it's like you can see he's used to these style of, athletic, bigger body tight ends. So I'm excited about it. And I do think that now that you have a guy like this and you know what he is specialized in, you know the type of players that he's been able to work with. Now, when you're talking about, okay, who's going to replace Vance McDonald? How are we going to rebuild that tight end room? Well, now he can have a big time impact in saying these are the players that I think will help us best. These are the players that I think, man, I could get the best out of right here. And that's the thing that I like.
So he switched to tight ends coach last year with the Chargers. I'm looking at Hunter Henry's year. He had 613, 4 touchdowns. But as usual,
he didn't play the whole season,
right?
He
missed 2 games. Yeah, so that's, 16 games. That's over 700 yards, maybe 5 touchdowns. So, yeah, pretty solid. Can't really complain about that.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm excited
too. Hunter's a young athletic tight end that obviously has dealt with some injuries throughout his career, but you can just see like the stamp is there. Everywhere he's gone, you look at the productivity of those groups. So that's the thing that I like, man. Like I said, I think it's a good hire.
Yeah, I'm with you too, for sure.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
We missing anything?
So,
what else we got?
Yes, we are. Yeah. So obviously we're staying on the offensive side of the ball for the Steelers. But I think it's time we transition to the defensive side of the ball. Because we had a little bit of a big time media report
I brought
controversy
this topic
that
up
took
to you
place.
and I forgot about it. I was ready to end the podcast. I completely forgot about this.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, yesterday, Mark Madden, who is a big time media personality here, sports analyst in Pittsburgh, love him or hate him, you got to respect his track record is there. Former ESPN employee as well. He had put out a report that he had sources that confirmed that TJ Watt skipped out on his exit meetings. So to give you context for the exit meetings, the way they work is because I actually, when I was doing my other radio show yesterday, I had to realize this while I was on air. Everybody doesn't have exit interviews. Most people's exit interviews are when they're getting fired. In football, you have exit interviews every year. It doesn't matter if you're under contract or not, player of the year, or just a practice squad guy. It's supposed to be mandatory that you have exit meetings every year. Okay, so as soon as the season ends, some places they'll do them the day of the season ending, right? So last game was Sunday. We come in on Monday. Everybody's having exit meetings on Monday. Here in Pittsburgh, we do it a little bit different. Coach Tomlin, he likes to push the exit meetings back a day or two because he's typically, he's one of those guys. He's low key depressed when the season ends. He's like, I never anticipate us losing. So when we do lose, I need time to like recuperate and figure out the structure of what we're going to do going forward. So he typically takes a couple of days beforehand. But as a whole, you're supposed to have your exit meetings. You'll typically meet with your head coach, your coordinator, and your position coach. And then for guys that are in contract talks and things like that, you obviously talk with your GM at various points. But Mark Madden's report said that TJ Watt essentially skipped out on all the exit interviews. And they said that he was noticeably upset. Now, knowing TJ personally,
can I say the quote? He said, "Send my shit to Wisconsin."
Yeah. That's what you got right there. I appreciate you on that. So yes, that was in the quote as well. But then obviously TJ comes back with the rebuttal, and TJ hardly ever responds to media people like this. So TJ responds and he simply says the gist of it is, man, I would like to hear who your sources were, because for me, Coach Tomlin, Kevin Colbert, and Keith Butler, who obviously DC head coach and general manager, he said that he met with them, or all of them agreed that they met, and that was never the case. So to me, this is the thing. When I think about it as a whole, I don't think like the problem is this. We can do the whole who's telling the truth, who's not. I personally think that both of them could be very true. I just think that from Mark Madden's side, whoever his source is, it could have simply been
maybe they were lying.
No, trust me. The reason I don't think they were lying is because when you have sources, and especially knowing Mark, he's not dealing with low-level sources. So he's getting it from valuable contacts. That's why when I talk about beat writers and different people, like certain ones I'll listen to a lot more, is because I know some of these people that they're dealing with. So I don't think that was the case. But what I do think is this, man. If you aren't in there, right? Say you're the source we're talking about. If you're outside looking in, you see TJ frustrated or whatever, and you don't know what's necessarily going on, and you hear people just, oh man, I overheard it was exit interviews and this and that. I don't think he went to his. Oh, he just bounced. He might have said this. You can just see how it becomes more of a word of mouth thing.
Yeah.
And then from there, you get Mark who reports it. Obviously, Mark is a big deal in Pittsburgh, so it blows up. It becomes a big deal. But I don't necessarily think that couldn't have been the case from his side. But then from TJ's side, I'm like, let's be real. I've been to my exit interviews, but in terms of the severity of them, some of them have been a little bit more serious. Others, I'm like, I don't even want to be in here. And the coach knew I didn't want to be in here because you're about to get fired. So, and not me, I'm talking about the coaches. So the exit interviews, they go drastically different. Like, just to give you some context, I've been to some when I was up in Buffalo, obviously. I walk in, I'm just like, we're going to sit here and talk, but you're about to get fired. So why are we even having this conversation? You know? And then you get the text 20 minutes later, hey, it was great to coach you, man. I love you, man. It was a blast, but I just got released. So you're like, all right, well, we kind of knew this going in. But then you're here in Pittsburgh, and my exit interviews here in 14 was, well, look, man, we love how you played. We're looking to do business with you going forward. For me, I didn't care what they were saying because I already knew I was going to get paid regardless if it was here or elsewhere. So my mentality going into that meeting was a lot different. So if I'm TJ Watt, okay, you're upset definitely because the season ended short, but you know you're about to go break the bank. That's what the exit interview for you is. It's not, hey, TJ, we really want you to work on this and work on that. It's, listen, man, we're going to be hollering at you over the offseason, man. Get your agent. You know, we're going to get these numbers worked out. That's what the exit interview. So that's why I'm like, to me personally, I don't think it was a big deal. And being a person who's been in 9 exit interviews, I could just, it's not as big of a deal as they made it. But I do think the reason why it got blown up, number one is because it's TJ Watt, but number two is because the contract situation surrounding it. They know what's looming. And if this is the thing that could create TJ didn't re-sign because of this. This was the first sign of it. Then I think that's another reason why it really got talked about so much more. But as a whole, man, I could tell you I've been in exit interviews as a 6th-round draft pick that, you know, was on a 4-12 team. That exit interview was a lot different than when I'm in Pittsburgh and we're 12-4, 11-5, and things like that. Like, it's just different in terms of how these exit interviews operate, man. But as a whole, man, I don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I thought it was hilarious. And my question was, I was with you. Like, anything Mark Madden does, I don't ever really think he's lying. I think he always just like tells it like it is. So I'm thinking like, I don't think he would just make something up.
Who does it benefit more? Yeah. Think about this. Does it benefit Mark Madden to lie about that and then he loses credibility going forward? Because let's be real, TJ is only going to be here for at best 10 years, right? That the NFL career. After that, Mark is still on air. Mark can still record. Mark still has to cover. So it's like, it doesn't benefit him to lie. But then at the same time, it's like, I can see on the other angle, you know, it not benefiting them. But at the same time, why it would be important for them to respond the way that they did, right? Because we've talked about how in the past we don't see this team or certain players respond to the negative criticism from the media or report. But to see how quick they were to respond to that, it's like, well, what made this situation so different? Why did you feel like it was important to put these guys' names in this text in terms of GM, coach, and these guys? Like, so that's why I'm like, I can see both angles, but either way, I'm like, the root of it, I don't think it matters. I like being in these things personally, I just don't think it matters. If he was mad and he went there and told Coach T, hey man, F you, I'm out. Like, I don't think it matters. Like for him, it doesn't, man.
Yeah, if he actually did it, it's actually kind of like a funny story in my opinion.
Nah.
But then, yeah, it goes back to what I was saying though. Like Mark Madden, I'm not thinking that he's lying, but then at the same time with TJ, I don't think he's lying or coming out of the wazoo trying to respond to this if he doesn't have some reason to. You know what I mean? So that so that's when I started thinking like maybe the source just lied to Mark Madden or gave him some faulty information. But then you said he has some pretty legit sources. Maybe there was just some miscommunication there. Who knows?
But you think about it, think about what we both just said, miscommunication, faulty information. They all are under the same premise of what? The facts were diluted. The facts weren't as accurate as they were depicted to be. And the problem is when you go to social media with this information and obviously it blows up the way it does, now the facts kind of get lost and it becomes more of a he said, she said.
Or even just based off the quote, because the quote could be completely missing context.
Oh, no question, man. Yeah. Like they could make it like what TJ is requesting to get out of here. And obviously you can start the rabbit hole. You ready for the rabbit hole, right? Not saying this is the case. All right. I got to be very clear because now that we're in the media, I'll say some stuff and then people will be like, oh, he said it, man. You got to go. And I'm like, all right. So make sure we're clear on this. This is just a scenario of how or why it becomes a bigger issue, right? TJ Watt says, all right, F this, send my stuff to Wisconsin. He walks out on the exit interview. He's noticeably upset. Okay. We just saw JJ Watt in Houston, noticeably upset with Bill O'Brien, ultimately led to Bill O'Brien getting fired. We know that JJ Watt has shown, hey, when your stars say certain things, they can play the hardball role and get results. So could this be a scenario where now TJ is upset with the organization? He's upset with how the game has been played and he's already seen how his brother has shown him the way. Well, now TJ can do the exact same thing and force himself out of Pittsburgh or force a potential new DC or things like that. So you could just see how they started to wiggle the rabbit. You're like, how did you connect it? And when you're listening, you're like, well, you do got a point because we did see JJ do that. And we know JJ and TJ, they're both, mega stars in the league. And we know we're starting to see it now, even with Deshaun Watson, right? Stars are starting to understand their stars. It's starting to get that NBA feel a little bit. Could this be the next one? So you can just see how that dynamic starts to come into play. And then now you got a conversation. Now you got a story and the rumor goes, right? Not saying that any of that was true, just giving you context on how something like that could happen.
He's got only 1 year left on his contract though, right?
Yeah.
So if he wanted to be out, he could just leave after next year.
Yeah, but think about this. If he didn't want to worry about having to sit out, right? Or if he didn't want to worry about his money being altered from fines and things like that.
Or like a Bud Dupree situation even.
Correct.
Where you're coming up on your contract year, maybe you get injured.
Absolutely. And because, they had a rough exit interview. They didn't get the deal done during the offseason. And then he had to play under contract. Oh, man. So now the Steelers are definitely the villains. And let's be real. The other alternative is this, right? I said less about the whole TJ Watt working his way out thing. But how if he went in here and just simply said, yeah, this is what I said, people wouldn't even look at him as the bad guy. They would say, well, shoot, with Coach Tomlin and Keith Butler as your coaches, I would say the same thing. We know how people feel. We know this. Like, this is what they would have done. So that's why for me, I was like, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. Yeah. I really don't think it's that big of a deal either. So
yeah, but they definitely would have went that route though. But either way, man, and I have that personal issue with TJ Watt, bro. TJ's temperament, he's fiery in the moment. He's fired up during the game. After the game, he still be a little worked up, but it's not to like what you see on the sideline, because obviously there's been a couple instances where you can see his passion start to show and stuff like that. As a whole, though, that's not his temperament Monday through Friday. As a whole, he is a very just soft-spoken, not even full introvert, but just keeps to himself type of guy. So when I think of that, and then knowing the dynamic of a Butler, a Tomlin, and a Cobra, I just don't see how any of those guys are going to clash to that extent in the controlled climate of being in the facility. If you were saying this happened during a game, in the locker room, after a game, completely fine. I would probably say, you know what, man, that this could be very, very accurate. But knowing TJ and knowing those guys and being around them for multiple years now, I just don't see that happening personally.
Yeah. What if he even said it in a joking way? Like at the end of it,
that's
like,
man. Hey, man, send it out to Wisconsin. Man, I ain't showing up this meeting because honestly, that does when it comes to these exit interviews, bro. Just give you even more.
How long are they? A minute? 2 minutes?
No, it depends. So it depends. So think about this for a guy like Henry Mondeau. It's going to be a little bit longer. He's going to go in there and they're really going to talk about what he needs to improve on, what he did well, if they see him on the team, if they have a role for him. And because of who he is, they'll offer him a contract right there on the spot and basically tell him, like, look, you got about an hour to decide on this thing, but either you can get this contract, we're going to go find somebody else to give it to that's in a similar situation as you. Whereas for guys like that were in my range, right? And I always said I was the mid class, right? So paid enough in the second deal. So I'm no longer on a vet minimum. I'm nicely compensated, but I'm not a mega guy, right? I'm not your ABs, your bins in that range just yet. So for me, with my meetings, it was a little bit of both. You walk in, you're on the team, your contract is good. And we're going to talk about, instead of it being more of are you going to be here or not? It's more so, I need your role to expand to this. I need you to work on this element of it. Literally, I remember the 2016 going into the 17 season, we knew we were going to draft a linebacker, an outside linebacker. And it was literally, hey, whoever we're bringing in, you're going to need to be more of the mentor role when he comes in. You're still going to compete, but this is going to be the guy that we're looking for. So it was like, all right, if you want to deal with that, you stay. If you don't, all right, well, let's facilitate a trade and you go from there. When you get to guys like TJ, though, and it's contract time, especially, that conversation isn't being had there. That is literally going to be as simple as, you healthy? All right, you don't have any offseason surgeries planned. All right, you're good to go, man. Where you going to be at? Are you going to Wisconsin? Stay out of trouble. I'll see you in April. You know what I mean? We're going to get our talks. We're going to get this deal done. All right, we're going to make sure this happens. And that's the conversation, because a deal that TJ is in line for, that doesn't get worked out in 20 minutes. That's going to take time. That's back and forth, counter offers, details, fine print. And with your veteran players, with your older players, it's just, you don't have that type of, that's not the setting for that. So that's why for your older players, it's not as serious because of that. But then also, I mean, for the younger guys, shoot, they get the short end because it's a sign-up sheet, right? You all have to sign up to take these interviews with Coach T and stuff like that. But veterans, I mean, you get priority. So I don't have to sign up on this list. Say you signed up, Deke, and you signed up for Thursday at 2:00. All right, and you showed up and you've been waiting. All right, it's about to be 2:00. I didn't sign up at all, but hey, I'm Arthur Moats. I'm a vet. I could walk up right here at 2:00, and right when you're about to walk in the door, nah, man, sit down, I'm going. And you got to deal with it. So some of these rookies will sit there for hours just waiting for their meetings to get over. But that's just the dynamic of it. I mean, it's a part of the business. So to me, that's what I said. I still don't think it was a big deal. The interviews, they vary in terms of severity. But for a guy like TJ, that meeting is 5 minutes tops. Okay. Tops, man.
Well, whenever he says shit, that's the thing I didn't know. Was he talking about some type of review for his play from last season? But from what you're saying, it sounds like that was contract stuff.
Yeah, it's just contract stuff. Because you're there. Listen, after 2 days, think about this, right? When the game ends, Coach Tomlin does not have exit interviews with anyone on Monday. He's not even going. He might even. Typically, he doesn't do Monday or Tuesday. Typically, the first day is Wednesday because he likes to have a 2-day period of just decompressing and getting his thoughts together for what is next. So then from there, you have your sign up. So if you're TJ, you already talked with these guys on Sunday once the team meetings were over, right? Because obviously, Coach Tomlin and Butts, they're always around. You're always talking to these guys in the hallway. So if you had that conversation, then you're like, bro, I'm not sitting around here to Wednesday for you to just tell me the same thing we just talked about. Man, just send it to Wisconsin. You already know. If you're an outsider, though, you can be seeing that and be like, whoa, hold on now. That kind of looks, ooh. And before you know it, now you get this report. Was it true? Sure. But if you're a TJ, you're like, dude, I had this meeting. It just wasn't the formal sense of me going into his office, but we had these conversations. And that's why I'm just like, I can see both scenarios being true, but neither side, I don't think it's a big deal. I think it's only big because of the speculation and how you can build it up. But the root of it, it's not serious at all, man. Yeah. It's not like a typical exit interview. Like when you think about a person working at Walmart or a person working at Kmart, when they have an exit interview, it's like, dude, we're letting you go and this is why. NFL exit interviews are different. Like, we have these things every year and it's mandatory. So it's different.
Yeah, I didn't even think of it as letting go or we're parting ways either.
Yeah.
Like, whenever I hear exit interviews with football, I just assumed it'd be a review from your play from the previous season. That was it. But from what you're saying, it's kind of actually more looking forward.
Yeah, because for a lot of these guys, I mean, obviously they're studying the guys all season, so they definitely know each player and they have a basic like synopsis on each player, strengths and weaknesses. But to really, like, and Zach Banner talked about this, right? Remember when he talked about, hey, I had a conversation with Coach T and he really broke down what I need to work on and this and that. That's not happening that quick in an exit interview. That happens, when you've had both parties had time to really deep dive and just solely focus on one player. If you ask me about the Steelers right now, I have a great general understanding of every player. But for specifics on certain players, I would need to go back and literally just watch them.
And then that's probably an hour or two meeting.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. So you could just see how it varies in terms of severity, but also in the timing of it and why it's just not realistic to have this much of an in-depth meeting 2 days after the season ended. You go from game planning a playoff game to I'm supposed to know every person on my roster inside and out to that point. And obviously Coach T has a great understanding. Don't get it twisted on that. But he would tell you himself that it could be a lot better if I solely just watch this player for an hour instead of me watching my team for an hour. It's a lot more pieces that you're looking at.
Yeah. I just thought it was hilarious, dude. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, dude.
I really did.
As soon as it got brought up.
What's funny too is we always talk about this, and I talk about it like, oh, we don't want any drama. We secretly do. We just talked about this for 20 minutes.
We did, bro. It's always drama. I tell you this all the time. I'm like, oh yeah. Pittsburgh fans, no, we don't want any drama. We don't want to be the Kardashians. Yes, y'all do. Just own it. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. If you don't want to be a look at your social media.
We wouldn't respond to it. That's the thing. If any of this comes out, you just don't respond to it. But as soon as it comes out, all of a sudden, we put the energy into it.
If this is Jacksonville and this report comes out, nobody cares. Nobody. If this is Arizona, nobody cares. But because it's the Pittsburgh Steelers and we love the attention, good or bad, we love it. We want to be talked about in the media. And then we're going to talk about you not talking about us in the media. And then when you don't talk about us, we're going to talk about you not talking about us in the media and not talking about us enough when you do start to talk. That's what we do. This is Steelers fans. It is what it is.
Or it's just how we would run the organization or how we think it should be done.
Always. Because, we know more than the coaches and the GMs. I'm like, for us to... Steelers fans have the best GMs and head coaches in their fan base. I'm surprised that we haven't just dominated and just taken over the whole NFL and just Steelers fans as head coaches around the league because they have all the answers. It's just crazy. They can tell you who to trade for, who to draft, contracts. I'm like, man, what y'all need us for? We good.
I know.
We'll sit down over here.
I tell you almost every podcast how it should be, right?
It's crazy. It's just crazy. So, yeah, man, it's a funny time, but honestly, like I said, it's not important, man. I mean, it's important, but for TJ Watt, that meeting right there, not at all, bro.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that was good to get your perspective, though. Just because you have ties to Mark Madden, you have ties with the Steelers.
Yeah,
TJ,
I'm tied to both of these guys.
Like you probably have one of the most interesting perspectives on this.
And I do feel because of my ties to all parties, I'm able to fully be objective. A lot of people, when they were reporting on this, some people love Mark Madden. And they ride with them, right, wrong, or indifferent. Some people love TJ Watt or they love the Steelers and they ride with them. And you could just see that divide. Whereas for me, it's like, I respect Mark Madden and what he does. I respect TJ and what he does. I respect the guys that he named in terms of Colbert, Tomlin, and Butler. But at the same time, it's like, I can also see, because I know both of these parties, I can see how both could, be right and wrong, or just how it could be misinterpreted. I don't think necessarily any party was right or wrong. I just think the interpretation was what got flawed. And it's no different when you talk about the kid telephone game, right? Deke, let me tell you this in your ear. All right, now you tell this person in their ear. All right, now you tell that person in their ear. And by the time it gets back over here, that original message, it's been altered a little bit. It's been changed a little bit. Not saying that there was that many people in the chain of command, but you can just see how if you're not the person seeing it directly, these are the type of things that happen. But that's why when it comes to sources, you want to make sure that you have high quality sources because you put your name on the line because you're never going to reveal a source, or you're not supposed to unless you absolutely have to, or not even then. You never have to unless the person wants to be revealed. Yeah, that's just your journalism code of ethics. Like, you don't have to do those type of things. But that's why it is important that if you're going to have a source, you are credible. That source is credible because you're putting your name, you're putting your integrity, your brand on the line, and you don't have a lot of times to be wrong. I mean, you go from Adam Schefter to Ian Rappaport real quick, and just think about the two and how we view them. Ian can say one thing, but because he's been a little bit, wishy-washy with some of his sources and the validity around it, you could just see how we view him when he speaks versus an Adam Schefter who 97% of the time is money. You could just see the difference with it.
Woj and Broussard with Kawhi.
Hey, no question. Yeah, absolutely. Broussard can say it. You're like, all right, Broussard, I hear you. What was you saying? Oh, okay. What was that? All right, let's shoot in. Like, that's just the dynamic of it. So to me, it's a part of the business, man. It's a part of it. But that's why it is important if you're working with sources that they are credible. And it's also important for the source to be reliable. Don't give out that faulty info because you're not just, making a little ripple right here. I mean, it's multiple people that can be affected by that. So, I mean, it's one of those things, man. You work this, you work in this profession long enough, either as a player or as a media guy, and that type of stuff happens, man.
No, for sure. No, glad we got to talk about it,
man. Yes, indeed. But I'm excited, man, because we got one more thing. Now, we talked about how we're expanding, we're continuing to just grow, do some things that's fun. And it's the off season. I said, you know what, man, let's drop a little fun segment right here. All right. And with this segment, we're going to talk about we're going to first react to RedBox. Shout out to RedBox. They're still booming, doing what they do. RedBox, for those that don't remember.
Are they booming still?
I still see them. They're still out there. For a fact, they're still out there. So for those, because we do have some younger people that might not be aware what RedBox is. RedBox is like it's Netflix, except it's like an actual place. It's not digital. You go to your local grocery stores, your Kroger's, your Giant Eagles, your Farm Freshes. They typically sit right out front the entrance, big like red vending machine. But it's a vending machine for DVDs. And you can just rent whatever DVDs you want to rent from there, right? So RedBox yesterday released their top 10 football movies. Top 10 football movies. And their list is this. We'll read it off, and after that, we'll, just give our little quick reaction to this thing. But for their top 10, they had Rudy at number 1. For those that don't know, I mean, everybody should know what Rudy is. The little undersized, never appreciated, never got the opportunity kid that was at Notre Dame, worked his way, and then he gets on the field, does his thing. Offsides, but either way, it was cool little story. Then you have Remember the Titans, obviously with Denzel Washington. People know that movie. It speaks for itself. Number 3, they had The Blind Side, which is obviously the movie about was it Michael Orr, who was the left tackle for the Baltimore Ravens, played at Ole Miss as well. Number 4, they had We Are Marshall. We know what We Are Marshall is. Obviously about the plane crash and how the team, just rallied around and picked up the pieces from that. At number 5, they have Friday Night Lights. Shout out to Booby Miles, one of my favorites. Then at number 6, you got Any Given Sunday. Jamie Foxx, Al Pacino, LL Cool J. Number 7, another classic, Varsity Blues. At number 8, you got Draft Day. Obviously, we know what that's about with Kevin Costner. Number 9, Jerry Maguire. You know Jerry Maguire. Show me the money. And then at number 10, they had Little Giants. So just a quick recap. They had Rudy at 1. Remember the Titans at 2. The Blind Side at 3. At 4, they had We Are Marshall. 5 is Friday Night Lights. 6, Any Given Sunday. 7, Varsity Blues. 8, Draft Day. 9, Jerry Maguire. And 10, The Little Giants. So I guess for me, man, my first initial reaction to that thing, I'm not a fan of Rudy being at 1.
No way.
I know.
Yeah.
I know people love the underdog story.
1. No way.
I'm not a Rudy guy. The story is cool.
Number 2 should be number 1. Remember the Titans is number 1, hands down. See, it's not even a question.
You say that.
No.
I like Remember the Titans, but this is my issue. Storyline, yes. Non-football acting, yes. You look at the actual football that's being played in that. Oh my God, it's
dude.
Bad,
I haven't
bro.
seen it for a minute.
It's bad.
I haven't seen it for a minute. I might have to rewatch.
Just look. Go watch the backside Georgia reverse. If that man's running that ball like that, he's going to be in an ambulance. That's all I'm saying, man. It's that simple. All right. But Remember the Titans is an awesome movie, though. The storyline and the fact it's a true story based on, was it T.C. Williams High School? That's in Virginia, actually, as well. Shout out to them. Man, but that was definitely a powerful movie too. When you think about, which is kind of crazy, the similarities, what was going on back then and how some of that stuff is still, from a racial tension standpoint, is still prevalent today. But how sports was the great equalizer. Sports was what people rallied around. And that's kind of what we talked about as well, how just sports can help you look past people's differences and find your common ground. You can find why we are together and things like that. So it's a dope movie though, man. But
so what's your one?
So for me, my one is Any Given Sunday. I love Any Given Sunday. I think the acting was great. I thought the storyline was great, and the actual football acting was great, just across the board. And obviously you have real athletes in there. You had LT that was in there, man, and don't drop me, I'm worth $1 million. It's one of my favorite parts in the movie, man. It was a linebacker dealing with concussions and stuff like that. I don't know if you saw that, but
bro,
yeah. So
hold on. So the only movies I've seen on here. Yeah. Blindside, Remember the Titans, and I think Little Giants. Was there one on? Okay. I think that was it out of all the ones. So like, I don't have the best reaction to any of this. Those are the only three I've seen. So I actually feel like I need recommendations, or maybe just to hear your top 5 list, I could watch and be like, all right, should some of these be in the top 5?
No doubt. So I give you my top 5, but I will say this: for a top 10, just if you're getting introduced to football movies, this is that top 10 list is surefire. You can't go wrong with
those.
Any
are all
of
good.
Those.
Maybe just the order is switched a little bit.
It's the order, right? If you had to make a pantheon of top football movies, these are going to all be top 20 picks. Okay. So you're not wrong with this list. For me, because I've seen all of these movies multiple times, I'm able to say, okay, this is what I really like about this compared to other ones. And that's why my list is a little bit different. I'm only going 5 deep because honestly, like I said, you could make a legit list of 20. Like even on my list of 5, it's what I think I only have one up here that's different than their top 10 list. But I could have easily added multiple movies and made a completely separate list of movies.
They snubbed someone. They snubbed the movie.
Yeah, for the top 10, but it's personal preference. That's the thing. Like when you talk about these style of movies, a lot of people are upset that Brian's song isn't up here. Brian's song, that a lot of people feel like that should be the number one sports movie.
I did see that. Yeah. I saw that in school though. That's not something I would necessarily consider in my top 10.
But see, people love the story behind it. They love because it's a real movie, the dramatic, it was a good movie, and people value that. People have that as their number one movie. For me, it's too sad. I'm not fond of it. And another one was the movie called The Express. It was the movie based on what was his running back up in Syracuse? So it wasn't Jim Brown. It was Ernie Davis.
Did he win the Heisman?
He was the running back. Yes, okay. He came after that, was a beast, but he ends up dying. He gets cancer, so he never gets to even play. He gets drafted to the Browns, but never even plays because the cancer just took over and he ends up dying. But that was a great movie as well. The acting in it was awesome. It actually was good football being played in the acting as well, which I'm always a big person. Like, think about it. When we talk about acting in general and you talk about just sports to act in, football is difficult to do because it's not like you're only going to have 1 or 2 guys. You got to have a good amount of guys that know how to play it. It's not like basketball where anyone can just pick it up and do it. It's not like golf where, all right, it's less people around, so you don't have to have as many talented extras in the film. With football, it's 11 on 11, so you got to have enough guys that look like they know what they're doing to make it realistic for the guys that know how to do it. But my top 5, man, what I had Any Given Sunday at number 1. Like I said, I love that movie. I thought across the board, it hits everything. And being a person that's played in the NFL, it is very realistic. It was some things that happened in that movie. I'm like, I've seen some of that. I know what you're talking about here. But I just like the dynamic. And it wasn't cheesy. It wasn't over the top either. It was like anyone that was fortunate enough to play, it was like that. You know what it reminded me of? The TV show, oh my goodness. What was it? Ballers, right? Ballers was no.
See, I haven't seen that either. I heard that was amazing. I heard that's like amazing. That's on HBO, right?
It was a cool little series, with The Rock. But they had another football. I forgot the name of it. It actually was on ESPN before Monday Night Football came out, and it was a little bit too progressive. It looked just like Any Given Sunday, but they were showing not only the good, but the real bad when it comes to professional football players and stuff like that. So they kind of got rid of that. And obviously ESPN took over the Monday Night Football rights. That was a part of that whole conversation and that deal. But to me, man, Any Given Sunday is very close in terms of, now obviously the timing of everything is a little bit different, but it's still a very good and realistic movie in terms of just the way things operate in terms of, okay, this guy's injured. He has a 50% chance of being paralyzed from the neck down if he ever goes out here. But he has $1 million bonus if he goes out here and gets another sack. And that whole dynamic, that whole conversation. All right, this is the young guy who was the journeyman quarterback, comes in, he becomes this hot thing. All right, should we pay him? Should we let him leave? All right, we got this all-war running back who's in a contract year, but now his touches are going down because the offense has changed because the new quarterback. So you could just see the different dynamics, and then how they are on the field, and then how it boils over to some of the off-the-field issues as well. And dude, I promise, I'm watching them, I'm just like, yep.
I feel bad I haven't seen it. Because you're explaining this to me, and probably people that are listening or people that will torch me in the comments are like, dude, how haven't you seen this?
Yeah, dude, it's a dope movie, man. So that's why I have Any Given Sunday at number 1. And number 2, I have Friday Night Lights. I love the story of Booby Miles and just that, was it Permian? I think that's how you say it. Texas football team, they're in Odessa, Texas, man. It's just a good story. Now, it's funny, though. When you watch the movie, the reason why I have it at 2 instead of 1, the movie, great acting. I mean, the hits in this movie, it's crazy. Like, you get everything. But the thing that I don't like is once I found out the real story, they kind of make the protagonists in this movie, in real life, they were the antagonists. They were technically the villains. But because, the story worked out for them, when they told it in this movie, they make it like, oh, that's the team that you really want to get behind and root for, when really, for me, it's like, I wouldn't have rooted for them. I would have definitely rooted for this other team. The team they lost in the championship, when you hear the backstory behind both, without a doubt, I never would have rooted for them. You know what I mean? But when you see the movie, you don't know the backstory. The perception is a little bit different. You're like, oh, okay, I see what you did here. Shout out to Hollywood. So that's why I had Friday Night Lights at number 2. And number 3, The Little Giants, man. It's the annexation of Puerto Rico, baby. I was going to ask you this
because you've seen more of these football movies. Little Giants at 10 seemed low to me.
Yeah. Little Giants is awesome, man. The annexation of Puerto Rico is literally my favorite football play. I tell people that all the time. And then after that, it's the backside Georgia reverse with Petey. Those are my plays. But it's just a great movie, and it's the nostalgia element of it. We all can relate to it.
I used to laugh so hard watching that.
Man, for me, I'm like between the dynamic of Spike, Becky, the Icebox, and then for me, anyone like in my book, obviously the most theory of life. Anyone that's read it, I talk about a story where I literally had a chick that was the Becky, the Icebox of when I was playing. I almost quit football behind her, bro. She destroyed me my first year of playing ball, bro. My dad literally, he tried, I was to the point where I was ready to quit because she would just destroy me, block me off the ball. I couldn't block her. I'm just like, bro, this sucks. I don't want to play ball no more. And my dad was like, look, what I'll do is this to give me a little incentivizing, He says, I'll give you $1 for every flag that you get. Now, granted, I still got to go up against her and I still got to beat her to get these flags. I might have made $2 the whole season, bro. but that was enough to motivate me to come back the next year. And then from there, obviously I got a lot better. But anytime I think of Little Giants and I think of Becky the Icebox, I'm like, oh yeah. I've had one of those before. That was not fun. But it's a dope movie, man. So that's why I have Little Giants up there at 3. Then at number 4, I have a movie. It's called The Program. So this is for my hardcore football movie buffs. This is one of those classics as well. Omar Epps is in it. He's young in the movie, man, but he's just talking about just a college program. And it's a marquee college program. I believe they're basing it loosely off of Boston College. But they have it where you have these 2 stud linebackers, right? One is on steroids, though. Legit, he has roid rage. You see how he reacts in some of these times. Then you have this other guy who comes from a broken home, but he's balling out because he's trying to make it to the NFL. And how his dynamic is, and some of the things that he says, oh yeah, I remember you. You're the one who was talking about my sister. He starts just snapping on the field like it's crazy. And then you got this young, talented freshman running back who's all world, but obviously has to deal with that whole dynamic as well. So it's a really good movie as well. But like I said, that was a little bit older. That came out early 90s, I want to say, for The Program. But that's another dope movie. And then at 5, I had Remember the Titans.
Okay, I was going to say, you have to have Remember the Titans in your top 5. I was going to say, there's no way.
Love the storyline, love the movie. But as a whole, like I said, the football acting.
That's why you have the other 4 ahead of them.
Bad, bro. Yes. The football acting is bad in that thing, man. And I like the storyline better for The Program. Remember the Titans, like I said, is a dope movie. And I'm a big Denzel Washington fan. But as a whole, I just thought The Program, I just like that type of movie. It was more for me. Whereas The the whole civil rights and the social injustice stuff, like, I live that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to see a movie on it because it's not saying that it's a bad movie. It's a great movie, and it's important to tell the story. But for me, I'm like, man, I've been dealing with this since I was a kid. I don't want to constantly be reminded of it because it's only going to piss me off, and I don't want to be pissed off today. You know what I mean? So that's why it's down a little bit lower on my list as well, man. As you can see, any movies that deal with like stuff that bring up bad feelings or bad memories, it's like, don't mess up my day. I like to stay positive. Because another one that's up here is Concussion. They didn't have it in the top 10, but that's another like really good football movie. And that's based right out of here in Pittsburgh, where they were talking about, Mike Webster and stuff like that. So it's certain movies where it's like, it's a dope movie. You will watch this movie. It's a top 20 movie. But for me personally, if I'm picking 5 to watch, I don't want to mess up my day with that. So yeah.
What are the chances I watch any of these movies?
Man, you probably watch one of them, tops. Yeah.
Any given Sunday?
And I don't think, but no, I don't think it's going to be somebody like, I don't think it's you going to find it. I think it's going to have to just be you're around somebody and it's on, you know what I mean? Or just on TV. Yeah. But that's your temperament, but we know this. Okay.
I want to. It's one of those things. I want to because I want to have a list. I want to like have a full array of, okay, I've watched all these movies. Now I can actually have my top 5 and say which one deserves to be in and which one deserves to be out. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, that's something I say. And then you have other things that come up as weeks and months go by.
Listen,
I'll get to it some point, and then I never do.
Deke, you are the guy with great inspiration, but the execution, your intentions and your inspiration and your thoughts are always great. Like if we need to create ideas,
I have amazing ideas.
Talking to.
Yes,
amazing. The execution, it's like you gonna have 30 different things, and it's like, all right, you gonna try to start 30 things, and then before you know it, maybe 2 of these things really go through. That's but that's what I'm like, yo,
because here's the thing,
I ain't tripping on the back.
I say I want to watch all these movies at the same time. I probably have 20 or 30 ideas in the back of my mind
you already have to do
that I want to do in this next month or however many weeks. Where it's just like those movies are going to take 2-3 hours of my time. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's where
what's going to end up happening though, right? I can see it right now. This can be the perfect scenario. 2021 season is back. Life is back normal. Everything is good. We're flying to either Green Bay or Buffalo.
Is that on the schedule next year? Buffalo is.
Yeah, we already have. Yeah, they already have. Yeah. Buffalo, Green Bay. Jeez, I literally just had this up here the other day. Yeah, they already have like the home and aways, but yeah, we have some really good away. Dude,
we probably have the top. Toughest.
Oh, Kansas City as well.
Right?
Yeah, we go to Kansas City. You know, I don't care about that because we say it's tough right now, and then week 4 happens, and we're like, oh yeah, this schedule's easy. Who cares? Seriously, think about it. We talked about what our schedule was supposed to be this year, right? And then how it was supposed to be easy, and then it was supposed to be hard, and then we would say ours is easy, but the Ravens all of a sudden is hard because of the timing in which they played these same teams. That's why I was like, man, hard.
We definitely won in 2008 with the toughest schedule in the league. We won the Super Bowl, so maybe we'll rise to the occasion.
Yeah, and I think after the season, it's easy to go back and look and say who had the toughest schedule. I think if you would have gone back to that 2008 year, though, and listened to who was projecting to have the toughest season, I don't think it would have been the same.
Yeah,
that's my
thing.
You're
right. Because the Titans, weirdly, that year with Kerry Collins, they were like 12-4 or 13-3, and we lost to them in the regular season. So you're right. I don't know if Titans were actually projected to be that good.
Yeah, man. So that's to me is like that whole thing with that, man. But I do think, like I said, the way it's going to work out is this, man. We're going to be going to one of these road games, Kansas City, Green Bay, Buffalo. Obviously, you got your regular division foes. We're going to go to one of these, head into a tailgate like we do, and we'll be on the plane. And on the plane, they'll have movies.
Okay.
And one of these movies will be up there for free. And because we'll be up there mandatory for 2 hours, nothing to do on the way out. On the way back is different. On the way back, you like to get a little ahead with the work with the film and stuff like that. But going out there, it's a lot looser. We know this. You'll put the movie on then and watch. And that's why I think you'll watch maybe 1 or 2 tops. But it's going to be in those type of scenarios where there's nothing else available. We can't go anywhere. There's no other distractions. Just watch the movie and go.
The top 2 I should check out, though, are Any Given Sunday and Friday Night Lights. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, for me, yes, absolutely, man. And not the TV show Friday Night Lights, because they have a TV show version of it as well. It's like a spinoff. The TV show, to me, isn't as good. The movie was dope. But the movie came out, I was in high school. I remember literally my either junior or senior of high school, my football team, like that was the big thing. When that movie dropped, Like every football team went to go see it because I mean, it's awesome. Like the speeches that are given, it's a dope movie. And you can just see the different dynamics of the all world guy who has everything going for him, doesn't work as hard. You know, things happen to him. Then you see the guy who isn't as talented but works hard. Then you got, because it's Texas and it's generational, you got like the dad who was a state champion and he wants his son to be state champion because his dad was, you know what I mean? Like it was generational. It's like, whoa, man, if you're not going to do this, like I'm obsessing over you. So he becomes a little bit abusive in the scenario. So you see all these different things playing out. And then you got the other kid who's like just trying to get a scholarship. Another guy who's just trying to play just for the love of the game. And they're still dealing with the pressure of it and everything surrounding it. It's a dope movie though, bro. Dope movie, man.
We'll see. I'll let you know when I check one of these movies out.
Hey, look, I'm just glad that you are at least watching the hockey highlights consistently. You feel me? That's all. Baby steps, baby. We'll get to the movies. We got time for that. Just one thing at a time. Just keep that part going.
Yeah, I thought the pen stock was pretty decent, right?
No, it was. Well, and the thing is this, it's like, understandably, like you can go more in depth when you watch more of it, but general understanding is key because how many people didn't even look at the highlight? I mean, you talk about the goal scoring, a lot of people didn't even realize that if they didn't watch the game. So that's another thing that it's like, hey man, we just reporting the news, baby. Difference is you can't tell yourself all the time, man. But I do like when you telling yourself a little bit because it gives extra.
It's fun. It's just being real. About. But here's the thing: I've been recording my reaction to it on my YouTube, so that's kind of like I can't really get around that. It's either I record the reaction without seeing it beforehand, so it's just like, oh shit, this happened, and then I have to rewatch it again, or I just watch the highlights. So it's like it's one of those things.
I like it. I can definitely dig it, bro.
I feel like if you watch it before, can you watch the highlights again and have a reaction to it if you already watched it beforehand? Maybe I'll try it one of these times, see how it works.
It's weird because, like, for me, I don't watch the highlights because I've already seen, like, when I'm watching it
I typically
live,
don't either,
but
right? If you already watched it.
But think about at the same time, when we watch the goal first happen, the reason why we don't watch the highlights is because they show the goal scored 5 or 6 times right when we just saw it. So we've already seen it enough. We've reacted to it multiple times. And now it's kind of like, all right, I'm done. So I do think you can watch the highlight and then turn around and still record the reaction because it's no different the first time you see it. It's like, all right, that was dope. You see me like, oh,
I missed it. I missed this.
Yeah, like it's multiple things. So I think that, you can definitely do that though.
All right, we'll test it out.
Yes, indeed, man. Yes, indeed. So I like it though, man. But it's a little fun, just additional, you know what I mean? Off season, give little people a little something for their ears, for the culture, man.
This was an hour and a half almost. This was fun.
I like it, man. So yeah, man. Hopefully y'all liked it as well, man. I definitely want y'all to, in the comment section, man, talk a little bit, man, about this conversation about these movies, man, and let Deke needs a list of movies. Sports movies, all right? Football movies. I can't even just say sports because when we start talking sports, we're going to get into these Blue Chips and all these other different Hoosiers movie, basketball movies and stuff. So we're going to save that. Strictly football movies right now for my man Deke, all right? And help him out, please.
Here's the thing. There's no timeline on it because actually my track record on this whole movie watching stuff, I could go back to whenever I first started working out of college in an office job downtown. A lot of people called me the dude from The Big Lebowski. They were like, dude, you're exactly like the dude. You need to watch this. You need to watch the movie. They kept saying this. It literally took me like 6 months to finally watch it. So that's where I'm at. But then I was like, after I watched it, I'm like, yeah, that's a compliment. Call me the dude. So I appreciate that. Yeah. So whatever movies, whenever I get to them, I get to them.
There it is. But shoot, man, like you said, though, this was a blast, man. This was a blast. So, hope y'all enjoyed this new look for a little bit, baby. Shout out to everybody that's been vibing with this, man. All the likes and subscriptions as well. And until next time,
peace.